So we are approaching the silver bullet. So looking for opportunities in the market. You can probably see I'm in already with a short, right? Only with one contract at this point, right? Only with one contract. The premise kind of comes down to what I saw on the 30-second time frame. I really like these lows. Like I really like those lows as like a sell side objective. Will I hold it to those lows? We'll see, right? Depends on what price action does. But I'm kind of interested to see how we open up, right? How we open up. Obviously, you know, 2 more minutes we're seeing in a macro. We have rated all these swing highs. Oops, not the 1 second. So we have rated all these swing highs here. So I'd prefer for price action to react from here and then move to the downside. I prefer for that, right? But my stop's been placed in a way that silver bullet open can take out that high and still react to the downside. There's a volume imbalance here and there's a CB here. So again, just very light risk. Why? Because we're just approaching the silver bullet. That's kind of what we're looking at this point. I think I'm risking about $150, which is not much, right? $50,000 account, $150, so not too bad. Which is why I'm going in with less contract sizing. This for me will be definitely a drawn liquidity for me. I want to see that taken, I really do. And you might ask me, okay, well, when are you going to move your stop to break even, or how are you going to manage your trade? We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it, alright? So this high should be, if we form a swing high here, this should be protected, or we might just manipulate up. So we've got to keep that in mind too. So we'll see what happens at the start here. Bit of volatility, expect that, right? Expect it. Expect the volatility, guys. Expect the volatility. It's bound to happen, right? So see, we just tapped into that bullish gap. We swept that little low. So we want to see what happens with price action. This is a barrier. So when you're in a trade, you got to start breaking barriers, right? You have to with the markets. So that's a bullish gap at the moment, and we just swept liquidity in that. So again, let the market do its thing, let the market develop, and then we can kind of talk through what's happening with price action. No news Mondays can often be a bit quiet, I suppose. Could be the way to put it. Hopefully you can see my cursor now, guys. Hopefully you can see my cursor. We haven't inversed that. We have not inversed that. Notice that? We have not inversed that yet. This is the sell side objective, right? And now we're going to see, what do we do? Do we form an imbalance? Do we not form an imbalance? Because the bodies are kind of still in that imbalance. This has been imbalanced now, this bullish fair value gap. So we're watching price action. We're watching price action. Is it going to form a CB? We'll see, right? We'll see. Forms a CB, right? 17298. Sell limit. Yeah. So I'd be happy to increase the position here, right? And then I'll fix the buy stop. If we reach up there. If we don't, then we don't, right? So I'll draw this up for you guys. Obviously we took out this high here. So we swept this level of buy side liquidity. Right, we'll just put that into the middle. Alright, we'll change this now too. You might ask me why my stop loss is there. Because that high should be protected. Otherwise, we're probably going to continue to the upside. That's kind of the way I see it. So again, that's what I'm thinking here. We've got an imbalance here. Right, we still have an inverse that imbalance, so you got to be mindful of that too, right? You got to be mindful of that. This is your order block here too, right? Keep that in mind. This here could be a partial. We'll see if we want to reach down there. If not, it is all good. So we still haven't inverse that yet. So when you're watching price action, you think, okay, what could price do now? It could still come up. It could still come up. It's still permissible. We're going to move that down just above that high. So we swept buy side. That's kind of what I've marked out here. If my voice sounds a little bit weird, it's just because I'm a little bit sick. So I'm doing my best to manage that. Here could be a partial, right, or break even, or you could just hold it onto the bottom if you want to hold it to the bottom. But we'll see what price action wants to do. So 17280. And then we'll go like one tick above here. Again, we still haven't inversed. We still have not inversed. So we're going to see what price action does here. And then we might buy back one contract if we dip into that imbalance there. We'll see. I'll show you something. Let me show you something here. Let me go to like a slightly higher time frame. Maybe the 2 minute. I'll go to the 2 minute. There's a big 2 minute imbalance here, right? So we haven't really disrespected any imbalances yet. It was too early for me to move that stop, in my opinion. So risk is still assumed, right, for now. So let's see how price develops. Let's see how price develops. There's an order block here too, right? So that's an order block. I'm going to mark that out. I'll mark that in. I'll do that in green, right? So we'll just mark it in green. So bearish order block. Just so you guys can see. And we'll let price action do its thing, right? Let price action do its thing. So we're in a macro right now, if you don't know, right? That's from 250 to 310. So this is also a macro-based trade. I just haven't drawn it up. This is just me pyramiding the position, right? That's all I'm doing here. So again, if we tap down here, I might set a limit order. Unless we go there already. 17289.75. So I'm going to set a limit order here. And the second limit order will be at this sell side liquidity. So again, you take your partials where it makes sense to you guys. That's what you do, right? Why have I taken, why do I want to take a profit here? You might ask me, well, if I get this previous dealing range, right? Have a look at this. If I get this previous dealing range from this low to this high, have a look. It's below equilibrium, right? And, oops, it also rests within the OTE, right? So now what do? I go to break even. I'm blocking the chart, sorry guys. I go to break even, manage my position. And that is why you got to be mindful. Now, do I trust this? I don't. I feel like that's a manipulation to the upside. So I'm going to sell one more contract here, right? And then I'm going to set a buy stop. 17300. I don't know what that was, right? I honestly don't know what that was. That's some manipulation there in the markets. But the objective still remains. That is some manipulation. That is some big manipulation there, right? But this is still an objective for me. So they really want to pull that price, don't they? There's someone that wants to get orders into this price. Realistically, that's what's kind of happening there. So that's very interesting. But that's why you have a stop loss, and that's why you manage your stops. Like, yeah, it wasn't the best entry again here, but we're still happy to take this trade again. Now, what will happen here, guys, is if we form a lower high here, this will become, right, a protected high because we've swept this swing high here. So we're just going to see what happens in price action. But this is trading. This is what happens, guys. Things happen in the market, right, that you can't explain. And sometimes there'll be some manipulation in the market as well, right? So I'm just going to get rid of these things. This here is another order block too. So I'll mark that out. And it's still the sell side objective. It's still the sell side objective because the wicks do the damage, the bodies tell the story. And now you wait. We be patient, we wait. Unfortunately, it was so quick, as you saw, that the entry came a little bit later. The entry came a little bit later here, guys, unfortunately, which is just one of those things that happen. But I still believe we have an objective as the sell side. We've got these two lows here that are relative equal lows. And price just manipulated to the upside. So that's kind of what I'm seeing there. Would I be willing to enter another position? Potentially. Potentially. Just depends what price action does. So, but when I see something like that, for me it's like an abrupt manipulation. Because I know that then would be tricking people to go long. But this is how like you do your positions. Like, yeah, if you didn't go to break even, right, then you wouldn't have been stopped out. But is it worth the risk? You know what I mean? And there you go, right? So full position is out. Just so you guys can see. Sell side liquidity target has been achieved. Hopefully you guys got something from this video because the market is not always going to be clean. It's not always going to be clean. And now we're going to see if we want to head down to this area here and this area here, right? The big sell-off, we could call it, right? The big sell-off.